plays the badly behaved inmate Pennsatucky in the series Orange is the New Black, and she also stars in the new Lifetime movie, Cleveland Abduction. Give it up for Taryn Manning.
Yeah. And she is one of the creators of Black Lives Matter and a Los Angeles-based artist and organizer. I'm talking about Patrisse Cullors. Patrisse, welcome. All right, now, there were a lot of compelling stories grabbing the interest of HuffPost readers this week, none more so, obviously, than the protests in Baltimore over the death of 25-year-old Freddie Gray, who died earlier this month from a spinal cord injury sustained while he was in police custody. Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby announced today that Gray's death had been ruled a homicide, and the police officers involved had been arrested and charged with crimes ranging from murder to manslaughter to assault. Now, Patrisse, Mosby said that we were finally going to get some justice. Do you think that the protests, and not just the Baltimore protests, but the protests that we saw in Ferguson and the protests that we saw after Eric Garner, made a difference in how this was handled?
Most definitely. I think the protesters since August 9th have been out in the streets every single day across the country. New York, Los Angeles, places like Grand Rapids, Michigan, Appalachia. I mean, literally, the whole entire country has been fighting for the lives of young Black folks.
Wow, and that's powerful. And I think some people don't appreciate that there's a connection between protesting, putting a spotlight on stuff, and getting justice. Sometimes, like if we didn't say anything, I don't think anything. Do you think anything would have happened?
Yeah, I think something would have happened just you know, by like the people alone. But I like to say that they've been more like fighting for like peace. You know, I think saying the word fighting for justice is like, I think it's more like they're like protesting for some peace. Like I've seen some evolved behaviors with this for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And while the Mosby announcement struck a blow for accountability, it didn't seem like the cable networks always focused on the reason people were marching. Instead, they were having a conversation on what to call the people who were marching. Take a look at this. Look at this.
These are supporters of Mr. Gray.
Protesters are on the move again.
Demonstrators vowing to shut down the city.
This is an uprising. Rioting today in the streets of Baltimore.
Definitely a riot situation.
Riot. These are criminals.
Criminals.
Criminals and thugs.
Thugs. Isn't it the right word?
Just call them niggers.
Wow.
So we went from protesters to demonstrators to criminals to thugs to the N-word. I mean, the American dream, it's still alive. You can really, reach that goal.
The way the media framed this, even calling people who are engaged in what I call an uprising as thugs, what does it mean for that to happen? Why does that happen?
Because I think the media doesn't want to actually talk about what's happening. The media doesn't want to discuss law enforcement violence. The media doesn't want to discuss that someone was murdered by law enforcement. You know, some people say killed because you can't use murder, because if it's a murder, then you've been convicted. But it's murder, and we have to call it as such, and the media doesn't want to do that, and so instead they focus on sensationalizing what's happening on TV.
Now they've lost control.
Exactly.
They've lost control of the situation,
Yep.
too, and they're, so it's all about the thugs or this, you know?
It seemed, though, that there was this obsession with the property. That's what, it became like, CBS! Marcus, CBS is gone, man! It's
like
almost,
you can't make another one.
Exactly. It was almost like that became, they wanted to start a hashtag
like, what the fuck
on
was in the
CNN.
CBS that y'all couldn't get another one?
I think they wanted their own hashtag, hashtag white people's property matters. It didn't take off. It wasn't trending.
Well, something came out on social media which was beautiful, which is, I'm not concerned with broken windows, I'm concerned with broken necks.
Yeah.
And that's like, do we remember what happened to Freddie Gray? His neck was broken. How did that happen?
I think y'all being too hard on white people. White people, if you're watching, I love you.
This is why I hired him, because he's a very generous soul.
Yes. No, I'm just saying, when white people riot and do crazy stuff, the media...
They're celebrating.
No, I disagree. The media represents white people the same way. I'll prove it. Look.
That's true.
Let's see.
Patriots fans, they're savoring victory.
Fans celebrating the Giants' win. Rowdy fans outside the Staples Center.
Hundreds of Penn State students held a rally tonight.
The U.S. Open of Surfing, a skate and surf event.
Off-campus party that also coincided with the annual Pumpkin Festival.
Oh, the Pumpkin Festival.
Pumpkin Festival! How amazing is that?
So that was a rally. You know?
Yeah, but if it was...
It was a rally, not a riot.
It was a team one, right?
Right. Shit, they rally when it's... That's what I want to say. I understand black people riot when they lose.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you know, you lose some money on the game. White people won, and they still turned over a police car and set shit on fire. I don't even understand this.
Celebrating, homie. They're celebrating.
They're celebrating, right.
Do you think, though, it's just a racial component? Because the interesting thing is, I know that we know that some of the cops involved with the Freddie Gray assault were black or were Latinos. And so do you think it's just a racial thing, or is the color the blue line, as we talk about?
I have a theory. I think it was a little personal. You know what I mean? I think this kid's been, you know, he had a little bit of a record, like 22 arrests. And as far as my researches go. And I think there's like a little personal thing there. Like they're kind of tired of his smaller territory.
But it seems like this is this.
Oh, you think like they knew who he was? They were just giving him a hard time. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's this constant rousting. You know, 8:30 in the morning, you've got a switchblade. No, you don't.
Right.
You know.
Right. But I actually agree with that point because I grew up in a neighborhood where we knew our local law enforcement, and they picked on the community.
Yeah.
And they picked on the community, and I think that's an important understanding.
And he also tried to ride away.
Exactly.
You know, so
that actually the law enforcement that's coming in the community is there all the time. So they get used to faces, they get used to names, and there's the excuses they make around who they're going to target and who they're going to not target. But I do think the point around is it. Does it matter if an officer is of color? I actually think it doesn't matter. Once you suit up, you are blue. That's a whole brotherhood. That's a whole nother thing that we don't know about.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's what Eric Garner said. I mean, when they came and were hassling him about the loose cigarettes, he said, "Not today."
Exactly.
Not today. So you know, it's just this history of again and again and again it happening.
Yeah.
Exactly, over really petty crimes. And they say you shouldn't run, but when you run, they catch you and beat you. When you stay...
Well, you run, you get shot. Walter Scott?
Right.
Walter Scott was running.
Yeah.
There was no I mean, literally, it was like really simple. The officer just picked up his gun and shot him.
Right.
It was like...
And he did it like he did it before.
Exactly.
That wasn't like his first time.
So you're saying that he didn't actually break his own neck?
No.
That's what they're saying.
Right.
I mean, I know what I read on the websites there, right?
Yeah, like that was awful because that man was, was a big gentleman, and the guy that killed him was little. And you just think the rage that he saw red, and he was screaming he couldn't breathe, and there was just like, I don't know.
It's insane. It's
that
absolutely...
one killed.
And I think you're right. And I wish we talked more about that. I wish we talked more about what you're talking about. But instead, a lot of times the right will take a story. It's not just the right. It's really just media in general.
Exactly.
Will take a story and pick out the stupidest part of it and focus on the worst part of it. You all saw the mother, for example.
I hope that was...
You know what I'm talking about? This mother who pulled her son out of the riot. Now, I thought the conversation, and if y'all didn't see it, can we bring it up? She was pulling her son out of the riot. She was a little rough, regular mama stuff. You know what I mean? My mom did that when I put too much sugar in the Kool-Aid, but, when this happened, run that one more time, because I really want people to understand this. This mother was clearly hurting, right?
Exactly.
She was upset, and she was like, I don't want you killed by the police. Yes, I'm trying to save you. But no one said, yo, this mother is so impassioned to protect her son that she did this. Instead, they said, wow, if more black moms did this, nobody would be in jail. All we need to do is get a bunch of black women to beat up boys, and we'd be fine. Where the daddies at? I mean, it was like the stupidest conversation.
Terrible.
And then your homie, Bill Kristol, you see his tweet?
Oh, yeah. Bill Kristol put up a tweet. You remember him? He brought us Sarah Palin, among many other
great ideas. Yeah.
He said that the GOP message in 2016 should be running against anarchy and chaos. Black people.
Right, exactly.
Fear of a black planet, Chuck D coming back. And look at this. His dream team is Giuliani and Cheney.
That's frightening.
Yeah.
That actually makes me really scared.
So basically, it's the Southern strategy that Nixon started in '68, right? Scare white people, even poor white people, about the coming black menace. I mean, what does that kind of say to you when this is what it's all distilled down to, Taryn?
Oh, man, that's a big question. I don't know. I'm still.
Do you think people are really scared?
Right.
Well, let me ask you. Do you think people are really scared? I mean, does this kind of stuff work? Like when you see, when Americans that we fly over in places like Pennsatucky, right? I'm from Pennsylvania, like that middle part between Philly and Pittsburgh, we used to call Pennsatucky. Yeah. And those are the people who watch Baltimore or Ferguson. And sometimes that's their only view of black people. Does that get them really scared?
I don't know about scared. It just adds to the the racism, and it just doesn't. There's no time. There's no room for that situation to change, because it's just feeding it.
Yes.
I don't know about scared. Just more pissed, more easier to blame. I don't know.
Patrisse, I want to ask you one thing. I know that there's it's a big day of action tomorrow.
Yes.
Planned, and it's actually there's a new hashtag.
Black Spring.
Black Spring.
Yes.
So I know there's been some controversy, Mark. We were talking about this before.
Yes, I was hoping this was going to come up.
Lay it on us.
Talk to us what Black Spring is.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Spring is really about looking at this moment as not these isolated incidences. Like the media really wants to say, well, this happened in Ferguson, this happened in Baltimore, this happened in New York. Are they the same? Right. Yes, they're the same. Black people are not a monolithic group, but what we are facing is something that's extreme, and that's poverty, that's homelessness, that's high rates of joblessness, that's law enforcement invading our communities day in and day out. And we are uprising. And so this Black Spring is about really talking about a national uprising. And we should be honored to be a part of this moment.
Yeah, and that's connected to the idea of Arab Spring a few years ago when Libya and Egypt, obviously, and even Iran, all these places were sort of pushing back and fighting for freedom at the same time. Some people don't like that term.
Yes.
Why is that? And I just found this out today.
I did too.
Okay.
So I'm still learning the argument.
Okay.
Some people say that it didn't come up from the grassroots, that it actually was a term put on them. So Black Lives Matter came from the grassroots, right? So that's not a term that was put on us. So folks are sort of arguing that actually don't use something that wasn't created by the grassroots, but we're saying we are the grassroots. Right. So we're reclaiming that word.
Oh. So if somebody wants to learn more about what's happening tomorrow, where can they go to find out more information?
FergusonAction.com. If you are going to be doing an action, you should put it up on FergusonAction.com. There will be an action tomorrow in Los Angeles. I'm not going to say the place because I don't want the cops to show up early. But,
that's the only time they show up early.
We'll whisper it to you later.
But show up and we'll have all that for you. Yes. Also, I want to move on to another topic because this is a big week in sports as well. Some sports fans here? Yes. So I know you all saw the NFL draft. No big surprises here. Jameis Winston was the #1 pick in the draft. And tomorrow, of course, is the big fight between Manny Pacquiao and somebody. Some Pacquiao fans, I guess after the Dickopedia segment, everybody's a Pacquiao fan. Nobody's rocking with Mayweather anymore. But Mayweather, again, has a long and ugly history of beating women up. And Winston, who we just talked about, is being sued for allegedly raping a woman when he was a student at FSU. Yet both of these men are being lauded as sort of heroes, and they're about to get paid more money than most people have in an entire lifetime, than many countries have in an entire lifetime. What does it mean that these men who are kind of bad guys are so celebrated?
I think money. Number one, I think we need to, in their defense, and the only defense is that they're in a very aggressive sport. It's constant, training and this and that. I did say earlier, like, maybe these people should automatically have to go through, like, anger management or somehow, like, maybe a little meditation. Something, something that balances out, their sport, which is a very aggressive nature that they're amazing at.
Yeah. So the Dalai Lama comes in at halftime. Like, instead of the coach going, we're going to kill him, we're going to rip him apart. He comes in and they do a little...
during, but
No, but
that is an interesting idea, though, right? That you spent your whole life being told that your fundamental worth is as a purveyor of violence.
Yeah.
Well, and that's not to excuse their behavior, but...
I mean, I actually agree with that point if we're looking at people's psychology, right? You are what you eat, you are what you do. But I also think there's a larger context, which is patriarchy, which allows for men to do really terrible things and bounce back, and women cannot do those things and bounce back. Their careers would be over.
Oh, that's interesting. But it's interesting that we are able to somehow divide. I heard a lot of the conversation today. It's like sort of, there's the boxer and then there's the man. Root for the boxer, hate the man. But isn't it really on us, the people who are paying, what is it? I'm not doing it. What is it for a pay-per-view? $89.95 or something? It's
probably like $100 or something.
It's going to make something like $300 million.
Easy.
Yeah, so how do we divide that? I mean, it's sort of the question is, Picasso was a horrible misogynist, but I love his art. But is that the same for a boxer or for a football player?
Of course. It's entertainment. People love their entertainers. People would do anything for their entertainers. I mean, dare I say Bill Cosby? I mean, R. Kelly. I mean, there's all these people who are their art, and then they do these terrible things, but we don't want to let go of the thing we've created, right? Of the image we've created. But I think it's really particular to men too. I don't want to stop on that point, right? Women can't do the same things and jump back.
I think it's interesting because the media, I think, also plays a huge role in this. For instance, when Mayweather got out of jail, some of the stories that were written about it, here's one that the AP had, where they said that they described what he had done as a scuffle with his girlfriend.
A scuffle.
Now, first of all, as we saw in the video,
Exactly.
it's the mother of his children, and he beat the shit out of her.
Right, let's
The
be
police
clear.
report said he punched her, and he kicked her, and he hit her in the back of the head because he knew it wouldn't leave a mark.
Right.
But they're calling it a scuffle. So is it just?
Nobody
Is
scuffles
it what
with
you said,
Floyd
Taryn?
Mayweather.
Right.
Yeah. Is it what you said?
He's a professional boxer. Who scuffles? Fucking Pacquiao's not going to scuffle with him. You know what I mean? Like, nobody scuffles with him. And the fact that they frame it that way is, to your point, I wonder if we have an investment. To your point, like, I wonder if we have an investment. Well, they're scared of him, but also I think they want to believe that he's not this person.
Or they just know the economic part of it. You know, before he went to jail, the judge said, okay, you can delay going to jail until your next fight because it brings in so much money to Vegas.
I want to watch it.
Is that right? Oh, because he wanted to see it?
Yeah, I don't know.
He had money on the fight.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're about to ask me about the violence, like someone to say something about it. Forget. I think he's a sociopath. I mean, the way that he was, the cars, if I can have 20, I don't know. I just don't think he's maybe, I mean, how many times has he been hitting his head?
Well, I think that's most men, though. I mean, yeah. What? I think that's most men. I think if most men, you know, could have 20 partners, gay or straight, I think patriarchy feeds all of us to want that. He just happens to be somebody who can afford it.
Right.
Yeah, but I think
I mean, really,
for me, it says that he frames it as a possession. And I know your new movie is based on the Cleveland abduction, the Ariel Castro.
Yeah.
It's coming on tomorrow. And in a way, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's sort of a continuum that you look at women as a possession, and he thinks, well, why shouldn't I just be able to pluck them off the street, chain them to the bed, and keep them? They're my possession.
I mean, he said if I can take care of them, why not? As if that's all women need to be taken care of by a man.
Right.
I mean, it's just like really clear where his sentiment.
And then Castro.
But I'm saying that's all. That's most boys.
Yeah, he's a musician, and you know, some of the band asked him like, "You seem so happy, man. What's been going on?" He's like, "Sex on a shelf." Wow. You know, like I don't, you know what I mean? Like just.
That's sick.
Possession.
Yeah. And I think with Winston, it's sort of a similar. It's an interesting thing. We let this moral equivalency happen, right? So you know, he allegedly, you know, he's being sued for assaulting a woman, sexually assaulting a woman, and then they always talk about that this other thing, which makes it a character issue. Stole some crab legs. Right. And they always talk about they're the same thing, right? It's the sexual thing, but the crab legs. The man stole crab legs. They can't get over that. Cocktail sauce, crab legs, it upsets the people.
I will say this. I think that the term sexual assault and rape has been a little bit overused, where it's kind of not at times potentially taken seriously.
What do you mean? Say more about that.
I mean, if I could just say something really quick on the set of Hustle and Flow, there was a huge thing that went down. Two people were like framed by like some women. They went in there voluntarily to have sex in the trailer. Not any of the stars, but next thing you know, the ladies are running out in the nude screaming rape, you know, and it's just, but it was consensual, you know, so I just feel like, I don't know, sometimes things can get a little bit misconstrued or, you know.
I just feel like most of the time women don't lie about that.
No, not saying they're lying, it's just, you know.
You think it was a setup?
Yeah.
But look at Jameis, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, after he was picked #1 by the Bucks, he posted this on Instagram. Oh, he's with crab legs.
Fascinating.
Now, don't you think that is sort of an arrogant move on his part, going, hey, now that I got 60 million, now that I'm, you know, #1 guy, I'm going to just put this right in your face. Hey, remember this? Crab legs.
See, I disagree. I disagree. First of all, can you put that up again? Those are some good motherfucking crab legs. You see how much meat? I would brag. I put that shit on my Instagram right now with the butter and everything. But beyond that, this man probably made $30 or $40 million for a university and didn't get paid $1. If he had broken his leg last year, he would have been empty, broken, back in the projects. He would have been anybody else, nobody in most people's minds, and the school would have kept every bit of their $30 or $40 million. And the fact that he had to steal crab legs out of a Pathmark while making $40 million for somebody, he should put both middle fingers up and eat as many motherfucking crab legs as he wants. That's how I look at it.
Defending Jameis Winston stealing the crab legs.
No, I'm defending a system that makes you have to steal crab.
All right.
How can you be worth $40 million to somebody and you got to go into he didn't even get good crab legs. He had to go to Pathmark, the local supermarket, and get them frozen crab legs.
What about what he did? What about what he did?
Okay, it's time for our next guest to join us.
Does he have crab legs?
We'll find out.
Because I need some crab legs.
You know him as Artie, otherwise known as the guy in the wheelchair on Glee. For 6 seasons, now he's starring in Boychoir along with Dustin Hoffman, and he hosts his own radio show called Sick of My Own Voice. He's Kevin Mchale. Let's hear it for him. Yeah. Kevin!
I don't have crab legs.
Here he is.
I don't have crab legs.
No crab legs.
One over here. Okay.
sir.
Sorry, I don't have crab legs.
Sir. It's okay, man.
Yeah.
So heated.
Dan Aykroyd brought whiskey.
Do you have anything? Cocktail sauce, tartar
Dan Aykroyd
sauce,
brought vodka last week.
fish sticks, a little a whaler.
Yeah, something. It's okay.
I have nothing. I'm sorry.
Now I got Kevin.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit like one of those old television evangelists. Like, you're healed. You walked out here. So the whole wheelchair thing, acting.
Very good acting. That's what it is. I had a woman. I thought that was done. I thought people knew, and I had a woman for the first time in a while. She came up to take a picture with me. She's like, she stopped, and I was like, what's going on? She's like, what happened to the wheelchair? I was like, are you kidding me? It's like, still?
Well, you obviously danced on a couple of the episodes.
Yeah.
Yes. But did you ever get shit from disabled actors saying, hey man, you took our role? That's bullshit.
You know what you know what the thing was? That became a thing for about a day. That did happen. And it wasn't from actors in wheelchairs. I felt like it was people speaking on behalf of disabled people and what they thought they'd wanted me here, because I had so many actors and people in wheelchairs actually reach out to me through Twitter or through agents or managers or whatever and said nothing but great things. And I just let it happen. You know, I resigned to the fact that it's not about me playing the character. People are happy that this character is being represented on television, period. And I think that's all, as actors, we're all representing somebody at some point, so we're never playing ourselves.
I feel the same way as a black person.
Thank you.
I don't
You
need,
didn't like it when I got the black guy wrong.
Yeah, I don't need black guy. As long as you're blackface, I'm good. Yeah. Same shit. No.
Right.
You never felt any guilt about it, though? I'm not saying you should, but did you feel any guilt about it?
I'm not saying you should.
No, I'm happy. No, I love them.
You know,
Just throwing it out there. No, because some people, I have a friend in a wheelchair. It's like, this is some bullshit.
Yeah, I know. For a minute there, I felt terrible.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what the hell? I was like, maybe I should. But, you know, like, I was broke. I was trying to be, I was like, I got a job. Like, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I was like, I'm just trying to get employment. And then if they're mad at me, but at least I got the job.
Fair enough. And in your job, you've worked with some amazing people. You work with Dustin Hoffman, which is a big deal.
Yeah, he was incredible. That was just very strange. Yeah, I was like, I don't know how I got here. I mean, I was scared because I had heard stories about how he's like method and his character he plays in the film is
Boychoir.
Boychoir, yeah. He's not a very nice person, and so I was expecting the worst, and I was already intimidated because you know he's kind of known. He's only won a couple Oscars, and he was the nicest man on the planet. I imagine when
That's how rumors get started.
Yeah, exactly. And I imagine somebody like that who has had that career and maybe knows he has that reputation. He came into the room and made sure everybody was comfortable and would just tell stories. And he came in talking about like classical pianists and all this stuff. I was like, really? He just made me feel dumb. It's like, yeah.
Now, what about Kathy Bates?
Oh, Kathy Bates was the same thing.
Horrible, right?
Terrible person.
Terrible. At least Dustin was
untalented.
I'm gonna cry.
No, it was the exact same situation. Because luckily, it didn't happen all on the same day. It was like I was working with Dustin for a couple weeks, and then Kathy came, and it was just great. She was so good. And the weird thing is, like, hearing them talk about past films and things, like, oh yeah, on Misery, and it's like, what? Like, yeah, like, what are you talking about?
The thing that I always love, though, is that, you know, it turns out that Hoffman, Hackman, and Duvall, they all lived together for a while down there in the Village.
What? Yeah, and we'd hear stories like that. And
the most Oscar winners ever in one room.
It's pretty amazing.
It was a crazy thing where they're all growing up together, and Pacino was around there as well, and they would all take like different acting classes, and it's like, well, you all suck, so I'm happy it didn't work out for you.
Did you have stories you could share, like, you know, hey, let me tell you about the time?
I was trying not to talk at all. He went up to me, he's like, I've never seen Glee. He's like, no, it's fine, you don't need to see Glee. No, you don't need to watch it. That's all right.
Speaking of, I've been hearing rumors on the internet. Did you hear these?
Yeah, I've been checking it out. Yeah. So is it true? We're hearing on our sources, you know, we're incredibly connected here. Yeah. Spin-off, Leah Mchale, Glee.
Oh, I don't think so.
No Glee spin-off?
I don't. You know, towards the end, there weren't that many people watching Glee. So I don't know how many people would then watch a spin-off.
Oh no!
You know.
So when did
we're off the air for a reason?
When we're tired of doing it.
Kevin, when did it jump the shark in your mind?
Which season?
You know, I will say, not to bring it down or anything, when Corey Monteith died.
Yeah.
The show, I don't think the show ever came back from that, and it wasn't for a lack of trying, but the story was going in one direction with this character, and he was, you know, one of two main characters in the show. And so I think after that, just the vibe on set is different. I think the willingness to, it was just weird for us being there, never mind actually filming and having to, being one of the writers in that sort of situation, I wouldn't know what I would have done because I was like, I don't even really want to be here, never mind having to think of storylines revolving around these characters anymore.
Now, Glee was always on the forefront of LGBT issues. I mean, whether it was, you know, Coach Beast transitioning, the Tran Choir. And this was a very big week for LGBT news. First of all, we had, of course, the Supreme Court, you know, hearing on the gay marriage issue. And then there was, of course, the watershed moment for the trans community. Bruce Jenner making the announcement, shockingly, that he was a Republican. And then, you know, there was other stories happening along those same lines, right?
It's very, very, very gay week. No, in the best way. You guys saw the Ted Cruz thing?
Yeah.
Ted Cruz gave this talk or this speech at a hotel owned by two gay men who apparently didn't know that Ted Cruz was anti-gay and was against gay marriage and wanted a constitutional amendment to end gay marriage. They say they didn't know.
But they're Republicans.
Right. Well,
they just assume that?
Right.
Well,
some gay people.
I'm kidding.
Some Republicans.
No. It raises this interesting issue for me is that what if these are tough times for a gay Republican? I mean, what if you believe everything that Ted Cruz believes except the gay marriage issue? Is it a single issue thing? Is there automatically that's the black ball? You can't vote for him just because of that one issue?
I have friends who are gay and Republican.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I have, especially in this town, I've come to meet a lot of them. I was like, huh? And I've gotten that response, like, I'm not a one-issue voter. Like, okay. And a lot of the times, it's not, I feel like they're misinformed and they don't really know anything. They're upset that they have to pay taxes, period.
Right.
And it's like that thing.
The
man was like,
but do you guys know that man asked asked Ted, you know, if your daughter came out and said, Dad, I'm a lesbian, how would you accept that? He's like, I would accept my daughter. And I felt like that was like some growth, right? You know, if you keep just making it an issue, then it's going to be an issue. But I thought that was kind of nice to hear.
It's nice. It's just, and I think you're right. It's just such a low bar, right? I accept my daughter. We're like applauding someone for like not kicking their kid out of the house. I still don't want her to get married. Don't want her to have health care. Don't want her, you know, just. But you can come to Thanksgiving. Like,
it's also trying to raise money. It's like the amount of times he's said the complete opposite about other people's children.
Right.
No,
it's like,
I know.
It's like, okay, well, you're pandering now because you need the money. So it's like.
Yeah. But it's also, he got all the blowback. Also, it's kind of like, what did his advance team? They didn't know that this was a hotel where there was like incredible orgies going on. Oh, Ted, it's going to be good for you. You know?
Right. This wasn't just a regular gay hotel. This wasn't just a hotel owned by gay people.
I mean, no, these guys like own the Fire Island party scene, right?
Right. Like you're going to the gayest place on earth.
Isn't it called like Out?
It's called Out.
Yeah.
It's called Out.
There's something about that.
That was a sign.
It's interesting though because you know, these 2016 candidates are having to tie themselves up in knots. You know, the questions you asked, right? They said, Marco Rubio, would you go to a gay friend's wedding? Well, I would go to the wedding, but I wouldn't give them something from their, you know, the right gift. I'd give them towels, you know, not the thing they want or something. You know, so do you think it would be easier for them if the Supreme Court turned over the ban and they didn't have to deal with it? Or would it be like Roe v. Wade, Patrisse, where now on the states issue it gets harder and harder, right? Roe v. Wade is the law of the land, but you can't get an abortion in Mississippi, you know?
I think it'd be like Roe v. Wade. And I think that, you know, I don't actually think that it matters. Your sexuality doesn't predicate your actual politics. No. Like, exactly like you said, lots of gay folks are Republican, lots of gay white folks are racist. So that doesn't, just whoever you sleep with doesn't actually matter based off of your own politics and how you understand race and gender and things like that. So
talk about the log cabin.
And I think, you know, even the conversation around gay marriage is really complicated. There's queer folks that are like, gay marriage is not what I'm aspiring to. I'm aspiring to equality. There are gay black folks that are on the front line saying, actually, let's be talking about law enforcement violence and not necessarily gay marriage. This is not sort of the one thing that if we get it, we're now all free as queer people. So I think it's complicated, and I think this country is moving in away from sort of the ideologies around homophobia and things like that. And the Republican Party is trying to figure out what to hold on to. They're really trying to figure out what to hold on to right now. If this was their platform, but that's not going to get them to win, they have to change their platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to put like Laverne Cox on the cover of Time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. So yeah, I think we're moving toward. You said something, but it's very complicated, you know.
Now you're on Orange Is the New Black, which shows lots of representations of sexual identity and sexuality. I mean, it's one of my favorite parts of the show is that it's not complicated. No, not like that.
Like that?
Freaks.
Tell us more, Mark.
That was season 1. But I moved past that now. No, but there's all these interesting relationships around sexuality. Obviously, Glee may be one of the gayest shows ever.
Yeah.
Right? And
It was like amazing when it came out for.
no, it's amazing. Do you two find yourself now being representatives of LGBT issues just because you're on these 2 shows?
I mean, kind of. I'm asked a lot more about it if I wasn't.
Yeah,
I suppose.
That's probably about right. Just asked a lot about it.
Yeah.
Opinions. I've never had it like a big angle on it until I saw it. Until actually I met Laverne, really, because she's like a public speaker and she's very, you know.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. You can learn a lot from her, and we would all sit around and just be like, so blah 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 blah. The answers, our minds would be blown just to know how complicated it all is.
But did you have to go through any kind of like training? Did they bring in a
I feel like I need some. like isn't it like LGBT and then there's a new.
There's a
Q,
lot of
Q's in there.
Like curious.
There's the Q.
I throws me off.
That was a C for curious.
But like for instance, when you had to deal with some of these storylines, and it does get complicated. I mean, like Bruce Jenner wants to be called he for now. I mean, it becomes the question that becomes, well, no, it's true. And so, did you, like for instance, what did you make of the Bruce Jenner special last week?
I thought it was great. What my favorite thing about it was, and in terms of me not getting training for questions like that, is about I feel like he isn't necessarily a spokesperson for it. He is a real person transitioning, and he's dealing with it as it comes. And I was learning from him when they were asking, like, what are the correct pronouns to use? Like, if your family says, he's like, there's no wrong answer. And I feel like the biggest thing from that interview is teaching people like me and the rest of America that it's okay to not know what you're supposed to say, but you can deal with that in a respectful way and ask someone. You know, there's a right way to go about doing it, and he's still figuring it out, and everybody else is going to figure it out too.
Absolutely. I got to ask you, before you go, I got some Orange Is the New Black questions.
He's a huge fan. No. When we found that you were coming on, he was like, oh!
No, I love it. I'm just a little nervous, right? Because the show was based on Piper's story. She was only in jail for like 4 days, right? And now we're on like season 3. Right. Like season 1 was based on her story. Season 2 was kind of her story, and then it moved into some other stuff. Like, what's gonna happen in season 3? Like, how are y'all writing that?
I feel like, yeah, that's all I'm allowed to say. No, it's I think Taylor, that Piper is a catalyst to get us into that world, and also then just sort of like the journey in that world. But who's to say that how many seasons we run isn't that year and a half,
Yeah. So what kind of, can you give us a hint? Because I know the show starts in June, the new season. Yeah? Can
Just
you give me
for
some
you,
hints?
buddy, there's more girl scenes in the show.
Yes. All right.
Now, and tomorrow night, the movie on Lifetime,
Yes.
Cleveland Abduction, I've been reading about it. Now, it says that this is a very, very different movie from a usual Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
It's been called brutal.
It's good.
It's been called gruesome. It's been called award-worthy. Can you tell us a little bit about, were you afraid of the subject matter? Did you feel like this was something that you maybe wanted to walk around gingerly?
Walk around gingerly once before I took the role.
Yeah, when you first were questioning it, before you met Mchale. I know you play Mchale, and you spent a lot of time with her.
Yeah. Yeah, gingerly only because my mom, who I share everything with, was like, I don't want you doing that. And I was like, what? She's like the first call I make when I get a role. So excited. And then she kind of like was a buzzkill. But then I understand, like they can be. But no, I love my mom. But no, fair enough.
She hit you like the woman?
Oh yeah, she went.
What are you talking about? Get off the set.
She was just nervous. I think it was just more about how brutal. This actual story is. I don't really even have the words to say, articulate sort of what these women went through, and this monster of a person, who also was extremely abused growing up, and it's a pattern.
Yep. It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
And it's an amazing project, and I'm thrilled to watch you in it because your acting chops seem to continue to grow so much. I wonder, though, about the next role you're going to take, because I've seen you play a prostitute, I've seen you play a prisoner, and I've seen you play someone
abused,
someone
abused.
I know.
So, I'm noticing a pattern here. Are you
It's
actively
called stereotyping. Hollywood.
I was going to say, is this part of like them putting you in a box, or do you deliberately like to find roles that are sort of challenging and dangerous and speak to these issues?
Well, I have a lot of friends that are actors. I've definitely been stereotyped, typecast, put in a box, what have you, the box. It's one of those things where, like, in my 20s, I used to try to fight against that stereotype and be like, but I feel like I'm kind of cute. How come I never get to read for the pretty girl? And because I'm not in Hollywood eyes, I'm not that girl. No, it's fine. Then I realized, then I finally came to realize that I get to play like very roles with a lot of depth.
Yeah.
Just because you're troubled or you're a prostitute doesn't mean that you're not someone that's been through stuff. You're not wise, and you're not, have common sense, and you're self-aware. I like the roles I play. I think it's fun. But I did make a promise that I'm tired of dying in movies.
No more death.
Well, like, you know what? I ain't trying to die.
We promise we will not kill you here. So please, how about some applause for them? Join us. Thank you. Now, you can get more information about Black Lives Matter by checking out Patrisse Cullors' website, PatrisseCullors.com. Be sure to see Kevin Mchale in Boychoir and listen to his radio show. And, of course, Taryn Manning, Orange is the New Black, and the movie premiering on Lifetime tomorrow. Let's give it to him. Yeah. Hey, thanks for watching.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click here for more videos.
And make sure to catch new episodes Friday at 9 p.m. on HuffingtonPost.com.